And let me make clear that there are, in fact, an incredible amount of studies that show from the CDC that kids who suffer from malnutrition do poorly in school, that kids do better when they get fed. But I mean, why do you even have to make that argument? Why do you even have to make that argument?
I don't even know why you have to even find evidence of that. It's, you know what I mean? I mean, I get it that there are many things that are not as clear cut that we want evidence for in programs we pay for. Totally fine. That makes sense to me. Making sure kids aren't starving, I don't really, you know, and it's nice the CDC has those studies, but I think it's kind of straightforward that if you're starving, you're really not paying attention to much else. It is one of those basic human drives.
Well, and what was it that Paul Ryan said about the empty stomach, what was that? Did he say that out loud?
Yeah, I can look for that, but it's basically full stomachs, empty souls.
Yeah. I mean...
Somebody's saying if you have a full stomach, you have an empty soul?
If you didn't earn that full stomach.
He wasn't specifically talking about... he was talking about a full stomach in a metaphorical sense, but, you know.
No, but actually, do you remember a couple years ago, we
played
the clip? Exactly.
He had that whole story about the brown bag lunch, and he had heard the story from another official from Wisconsin, and it was a story about
that's right.
A young black male who came into school, and somebody asked him, what would you rather, a brown bag lunch or a free lunch at school? And the kid said, I would rather a brown bag lunch because that means there's somebody at home that loves me.
And we realized that I dropped in the famous delirious Eddie Murphy ice cream sketch because that was the essence of what he was saying.
Right.
You ain't got no ice cream because you're on the welfare. Your parents don't love you.
And it turns out...
Your father's an alcoholic.
And he can't afford it.
It turns out that he botched the anecdote. And it also turns out that the anecdote, as originally delivered, was actually just a fabrication, and so and then
shocking.
I always thought there really was a welfare mom somewhere who had like 40 kids just so she could get more money. Turns out that wasn't true. Shocking.
It's not a great business model.
Just
it turns
make
out.
Things up.
It's not a great business model because of menopause. Once we get past menopause, then it would be a great long-term business play.
Kidnapping kids.
But
claiming they're yours.
Here's Paul Ryan at CPAC in 2014 basically arguing, look, we need to build moral character through our budgetary process.
What they're offering people is a full stomach and an empty soul. The American people want more than that. You know, this reminds me of a story.
Oh, wait, this is the story.
What they're offering people is a full stomach and an empty soul. The American people want more than that. You know, this reminds me of a story I heard from Eloise Anderson.
Mm-hmm.
She serves in the cabinet of my buddy, Governor Scott Walker. She once met a young boy from a very poor family. And every day at school, he would get a free lunch from a government program. He told Eloise he didn't want a free lunch. He wanted his own lunch, one in a brown paper bag, just like the other kids. He wanted one, he said, because he knew a kid with a brown paper bag had someone who cared for him. This is what the left does not understand.
Okay, so just to give you the backdrop on that story, I just looked it up. The first thing we did, this is the Washington Post, we looked for Eloise Anderson and stories about brown paper bags. We discovered a congressional hearing held in 2013 chaired by Ryan that focused on the war on poverty. Ryan asked Anderson, who appeared as an expert witness, what would be done to make the food stamp program, also as SNAP, work better. And she said, my thought has always been around SNAP program is that why do you have this program, school breakfast? When do we start asking parents to be responsible for their children? You know, a little boy told me once that what was important to him is that he didn't want school lunch. He wanted a brown bag. Because a brown bag, he brought his lunch, and it meant his mom cared about him. Just think what we've done. If this kid tells me a brown bag was more important than a free lunch, we've missed the whole notion of parents being there for their children. So Anderson had testified about this, and but the story doesn't end there. Wonkette wondered if Anderson's story was actually derived from a 2011 book entitled The Invisible Thread by Laura Schroff, which is about a busy executive and her relationship with an 11-year-old homeless panhandler named Maurice. His mother was a drug addict in jail. At one point, Schroff offers to bring the kid lunch every day so he won't go hungry. And then the exchange goes like this. Maurice looks at me and asks a question. If you make me lunch, will you put it in a brown paper bag? And the writer says, I didn't understand the question. Do you want it in a brown paper bag, or how would you prefer it? And she goes, Miss Laura, I don't want your money. I want my lunch in a brown paper bag. Okay, sure, but why do you want it in a bag? Because when I see kids come to school with a brown paper bag, it means someone cares about them. Miss Laura, can I have my lunch in a brown paper bag? And it turns out
from a book.
And it turns out Anderson misspoke at the testimony, and she said what she intended to say was the following. Once I heard someone say what was important to them, and she had never heard of it. And she was referring to a television
I can disprove
interview.
this whole thing right away. Because when I was a kid, teenager especially, if I had a brown paper bag, it meant that I'd gone to a deli on 14th Street and First Avenue in Manhattan, because that was the one that would sell booze to you. If you were underage, and didn't ask for
Your mama no love you.
But they didn't ask for any kind of ID. But they made me put it in a brown paper bag. So usually it meant I was drinking a 40. Not that my parents loved me. See, so I've already proven this story is complete bullshit.
But it's unbelievable that they have based this sort of bizarre fairy tale. I mean, it's what it is. It's literally based on fiction that has been injected into the conservative bloodstream and then comes out on the other end where we should deny kids food at their schools. It's just insane.
I mean, this is such a great example, though, because that's the thing is what conservatism has become so far beyond just this story. It's all about anecdotes that you get from people that that serve your purpose, and the overall issues, be they global warming, supply side economics, and on and on and on. Science proves again and again that they have no basis. In fact, the right wing belief on any of these issues, denying global warming and the rest, that supply side economics ever works. They've been disproven again and again when they try their crazy right wing stuff. Sam Brownback, great example in Kansas, or Bobby Jindal down in Louisiana. So they have to find, and that's where I kind of brought up the welfare queen earlier, which is a famous Reagan one. They need to find these bullshit anecdotes they can throw out there, because they can't say 47% of whatever, do this or what, because there are no facts to back them up. And so this is what the stuff I've done on guns, you get it for years. You can point out the percentage of people, with a gun in their home and how much more dangerous it is for their kids and them. And then the way the right will come back, you'd be like, well, my brother, Bobby Ann Sue, once was sitting in his home and somebody broke in and he had a gun there and he shot him dead. So it works. And that's their response.
Right.
Turned out it was
some
his
anecdote
son.
that's probably not true.
Yeah.
What'd you say?
Turned out it was grandma, and
Turned
she
out it
just
was
stopping
grandma,
out to visit,
but point still stands.
exactly.
Right.
Had she
That's
been
it.
a criminal,
either completely
she would
made
have
up, right? Or there's something that's sort of half fake about it. It all ends up being like videos put together by that worm.
Right.
Project Veritas.
Right. Exactly.
It's
Ben
the same
Carson
thing.
with
It's
a
all
belt buckle.
out of context
Right.
or made up, because there are no figures, there are no facts that back up virtually anything these people say. So it's all by anecdote, and usually the anecdotes are made
Hey,
up.
everybody. Sam Seder here.
Donald Trump is a bad guy. Believe me. It's true.
It is true, and you can subscribe to this channel by subscribing to this channel. It's true.